Number 1. The shocking mortuary casinos of the Philippines. When you step into a traditional Filipino wake, your expectations of somber, tearful silence are immediately shattered by the clattering of mahjong tiles and the intense rustle of Spanish card games, known as sakla, directly beside an open casket. To an outsider, transforming a solemn space of mourning into a high-stakes gambling den operating 24 hours a day appears profoundly baffling, if not outright blasphemous. Yet this extended vigil, culturally designated as paglalame, spans anywhere from 3 days to a full week and serves as a highly logical strategy for psychological and economic survival. The deepest roots of this custom stretch back to pre-colonial animistic folklore, a time when ancient villagers genuinely believed that blood-drinking shapeshifters called aswang lurked in the dark shadows, waiting for an opportunity to steal the vulnerable soul of the newly deceased. To ensure that the community members tasked with guarding the candlelit casket stayed wide awake through the exhausting night, high-energy betting games were introduced as a natural neurological stimulant. As the centuries passed, this defensive supernatural ritual evolved into a vital, self-governing financial cooperative. The family of the deceased takes a fixed deduction of roughly 10% from every single betting pool, a cut known locally as tong. Instead of enriching a bookmaker, these accumulated funds are funneled entirely into a communal assistance pool called abuloy, which provides immediate practical cash to help the impoverished family survive the crushing expenses of modern burial fees. Before we uncover the next layer of this paradoxical archipelago, take a quick second to subscribe to World Discovery Journey and hit that notification bell so you can join us on every deep dive investigation across the globe. Number 2. The living community inside Manila North Cemetery. The sheer desperation of urban displacement has driven an extraordinary human adaptation right in the heart of the national capital. Within the sprawling 21.85 hectares of the Manila North Cemetery, a stunning socio-economic universe has formed, housing anywhere between 4,000 permanent and 50,000 temporary living residents who coexist seamlessly with millions of decaying tombs. This demographic phenomenon exploded in the late 1950s, triggered by an uncontrollable wave of rural migrants who flooded into the city only to find a devastating deficit of affordable housing. Denied a place in the world of the living, these families transformed the cities of the dead, converting historical family mausoleums into multi-story concrete bedrooms, stringing up laundry lines between stone crosses, and mapping out active basketball tournaments directly over ancient burial paths. Children born inside these granite walls grow up viewing exposed human bones protruding from cracked concrete as an ordinary backdrop to daily play. This entire shadow economy operates under its own strict, unwritten laws and micro-enterprises, where citizens earn a living by cleaning headstones, sculpting graves, selling funeral flowers, and even organizing high-stakes pigeon races with prize pools soaring up to 100,000 pesos. Yet, survival here is incredibly fragile, defined by a complete absence of public utilities, where 80% of the populace relies on hazardous, illegal wire taps for electricity while buying drinking water by the bucket from private sellers. Even the graves themselves offer no permanent sanctuary, as public plots are leased on a harsh 5-year cycle. The moment an impoverished family falls behind on rent, cemetery workers manually excavate the tomb, removing the skeletal remains by hand to make room for a new paying tenant. What do you think about the resilience of these families who have built an entire society inside a city of the dead? Share your thoughts in the comments below, as we love hearing how these realities compare to your own perspectives on urban survival. Number 3. The death chair and floating cliff wakes. The methods of navigating the boundary between life and death vary wildly across the islands, showcasing an astonishing tapestry of localized regional adaptations. In the northern highlands of Benguet, when a family member passes away, they are immediately blindfolded and bound upright to a wooden structure known as a death chair, which is placed prominently outside the front door for 8 consecutive days. To keep the body temporarily preserved in the intense tropical heat, a low fire is lit underneath the chair, continuously curing the flesh with thick layers of kitchen smoke. During the final chaotic funeral procession, mourners actively struggle to position themselves beneath the moving casket, desperately hoping to catch any escaping bodily fluids with the profound belief that these drops represent a literal physical transmission of multi-generational luck and financial prosperity. Meanwhile, traveling deep into the mountainous valleys of Sagada, the Igorot people completely bypass the earth, carving out their own wooden coffins while they are still healthy and young. Upon their death, these heavy timber boxes are carried up sheer vertical limestone precipices and pinned or chained directly onto the cliff faces, suspended hundreds of feet in the air. This aerial burial technique is deeply practical yet profoundly spiritual, designed to lift the departing soul as close as humanly possible to the ancestral spirits of the sky, while simultaneously keeping the physical corpse perfectly safe from devastating valley, flash floods, and predatory wild animals. Number 4. The Fatal Karaoke Songs of Metro Manila. Moving from the quiet cliffs of the mountains back into the neon-lit, chaotic nightlife of urban neighborhoods reveals a bizarre and chilling phenomenon known globally as the My Way killings. Between the late 1990s and 2018, a shocking string of real-world homicides occurred across the country, all triggered by a single classic song, Frank Sinatra's My Way, forcing numerous commercial karaoke establishments to completely delete the track from their systems out of absolute fear. A defining tragedy occurred in San Mateo, Rizal, when a 29-year-old man was shot dead by a security guard simply because he sang out of tune and mockingly ignored the crowd's jeers. Sociologists explain that these bursts of fatal violence are not random madness, but rather a violent collision of three distinct cultural forces. The first is an intense social sensitivity toward personal honor and public face, known as haya, coupled with the absolute cultural mandate to maintain collective harmony, known as pakikisama, to sing terribly, hog the microphone, or openly humiliate a bad singer in front of a packed room is viewed as a devastating personal assault. This fragile dynamic is ignited by the hyper-masculine, self-absorbed lyrics of the song itself, which celebrates absolute ego and uncompromising individualism, acting as a psychological trigger for heavily intoxicated men. Finally, within low-income communities where a single song on a public machine costs a mere 5 US cents, while the average daily wage struggles to cross $2, deep economic frustration combines with easy access to cheap, homemade firearms, turning minor musical disagreements into deadly encounters. Number 5. The Hidden Matriarchal Power Under the Saya. In stark contrast to the explosive, fragile ego often displayed by men in local bars, the true administrative and economic command of the country lies securely with women, captured by the ubiquitous cultural phrase, under the saya, which translates to living under the folds of the woman's skirt. Although the nation's formal legal structures were heavily modified by centuries of patriarchal Spanish colonial law, everyday society maintains a powerful, unspoken matriarchal core that dates back to pre-colonial creation mythology. According to ancient lore, humanity did not begin with a dominant male, but rather through the figures of Malakas, representing physical strength, and Maganda, representing beauty, who stepped out onto the earth at the exact same moment from a single split bamboo stalk, establishing absolute primordial equality. In these ancient tribal setups, women served as babailan, elite spiritual high priestesses, tribal doctors, and political negotiators who possessed supreme veto power over the choices of male chiefs. This deep-seated influence remains completely intact within the modern household, where a husband is culturally expected to immediately turn over his corporate ATM cards and entire paycheck to his wife the moment he receives it. The female head of the family functions as the absolute chief financial officer, holding sole executive authority over every critical choice, from tracking daily cash flow and directing the higher education of the children to orchestrating major property investments. Number 6. The Toxic Economics of Recooked Garbage Food. As you venture into the suffocating, narrow alleys of the Happyland slum within Manila's Tondo district, a devastating reality of daily survival exposes itself through a specialized shadow food industry known as pagpag. Deriving its name from the literal Tagalog word meaning to shake off dust, this survival cuisine consists entirely of discarded meat products gathered from the massive refuse bins of major corporate fast food chains. This informal economy originally ignited during the severe public debt crises and widespread unemployment of the 1960s, forcing impoverished migrants to adapt or face starvation. Today, it has evolved into a highly organized, multi-tiered black market where specialized trash collectors establish covert ties with restaurant janitors to buy discarded food bags by the kilo. These scraps are taken deep into the slums, where workers manually sort them into distinct quality tiers based on the amount of meat still clinging to the bone. Class B remnants, which include nearly intact chicken wings and thighs, sell for roughly 15 pesos. while Class D crumbs and shattered skin mixed with old rice go for a mere 5 pesos. The sorting families meticulously wash the meat in tap water, scrape away any visible dirt or maggots, strip the remaining flesh from the bone, and stew it in heavy, highly seasoned industrial sauces to disguise the taste of rot. The epidemiological dangers are catastrophic, exposing consumers to severe outbreaks of Salmonella, Staphylococcus aureus, and deadly invisible strains of aflatoxin mold that accumulate over time, triggering permanent liver failure and chronic childhood malnutrition. Number 7. The catastrophic plastic crisis of sachet capitalism. This frantic struggle against daily hunger directly mirrors a massive environmental and health emergency known across Southeast Asia as the sachet economy. Historically, communities relied on a beautifully sustainable, localized retail method called tingi culture, where individuals brought their own reusable glass jars and woven baskets to small neighborhood corner stores, known as sari-sari stores, to purchase tiny, precise amounts of cooking oil or salt for the day's meals. However, during the 1980s, aggressive multinational consumer corporations swooped into the market, co-opting this traditional micro-buying concept and replacing it entirely with ultra-cheap, single-use plastic pouches made of complex, multi-layered aluminum and polymer sheets. With more than 15% of the country trapped beneath the official poverty line, families are financially trapped into buying these miniature packets for a few pesos because they simply lack the upfront cash to purchase standard bulk containers. The resulting ecological nightmare is immense, with an estimated 164 million plastic sachets torn open and discarded every single day, completely bypassing any formal waste management. These unrecyclable materials permanently clog the underfunded drainage networks of primary metropolises, transforming ordinary tropical storms into catastrophic urban floods that wash away entire neighborhoods. Furthermore, when these microplastics bake under the intense tropical sun or are openly burned in backyard trash piles, they leach highly hazardous chemicals, like phthalates, directly into the local water table, acting as a primary driver of systemic cardiovascular stress and accelerating ischemic heart disease into the single greatest cause of death nationwide. Number 8. The bizarre eternal Christmas in typhoon season. The true magic of this archipelago lies in its uncanny ability to take the most challenging, chaotic realities of life and transform them into vibrant, community-driven celebrations. The moment the calendar turns to the first day of September, the entire nation dives headfirst into the longest Christmas celebration on Earth, spanning 4 continuous months throughout every month, ending with the suffix "br." This extraordinarily early holiday transformation is certainly an expression of deep Catholic devotion, but on a psychological level, it serves as a brilliant cultural shield against the grim reality of the peak typhoon season. As torrential rains and dangerous tropical storms hit the coastlines, communities defiantly push back the darkness by hanging intricate, star-shaped lanterns called parol outside their windows, gathering for early dawn outdoor masses known as simbang gabi, and turning storm-battered nights into warm, extended family reunions. This festive survival spirit is fused into the very fabric of public transit, epitomized by the iconic jeepney. Originally cobbled together from heavy military vehicles abandoned by the United States Armed Forces after the Second World War, local mechanics stripped down the drab machinery and remade them into vibrant, moving street art. Each vehicle is a highly personal masterpiece, covered in bright graffiti, religious declarations, neon lights, and hand-painted rock band logos. When these legendary machines finally reach the end of their operational lives, they are brought to massive open-air resting grounds, known affectionately as rainbow graveyards. There is a beautiful, poetic contrast between these vibrant resting places and the tragic Rainbow Valley on the freezing upper slopes of Mount Everest. While Everest's Rainbow Valley is a frozen tomb where fallen climbers lie permanently trapped in their bright gear, the Philippine jeepney graveyards are exploding with color, repurposed by local youths as open-air street art galleries and spaces of urban rebirth. Number 9. The rainbow vehicle cemeteries and digital shadows. This profound reliance on intense visual expression and deep social connection explains why the nation has historically dominated global communication trends. During the early 2000s, the country was universally recognized as the SMS capital of the world, with citizens generating more than 1 billion text messages every single day due to the early rollout of incredibly cheap cellular bundles. In the current era, the younger generation has playfully rebranded their home as the ghosting capital of the world. This widespread habit of suddenly cutting off all digital communication without a single word of warning is actually a hyper-modern adaptation of the ancient Pakiki-sama social code. Because the culture places such an intense premium on avoiding open disagreement and protecting others from public shame, a local will choose to completely vanish from the digital grid rather than deliver a blunt, painful rejection that would break social harmony. If you are fascinated by how these deep-seated cultural codes shape modern digital life, consider checking out our deep dive video into the unique social paradoxes of Japan or the hidden subcultures of Brazil right after this session. Number 10. The extreme double-nested volcanic island worlds. The complex layered psychology of the population finds a perfect physical reflection in the island's mind-blowing geological wonders. On the island of Bohol, tourists stand amazed by the Chocolate Hills, a collection of more than 1,200 perfectly uniform, conical hills that span across 50 square kilometers, shifting from brilliant emerald green to a deep chocolate brown the moment the dry season arrives. While local mythology attributes these mounds to the petrified tears of a heartbroken giant, geology reveals they are the product of millions of years of marine limestone erosion. Nestled directly beside these hills stands the ancient Baclayan Church, constructed in 1595 using heavy blocks of ocean coral bound together with a mortar made from millions of raw egg whites. Despite suffering severe damage during a historic earthquake in 2013, the structure was completely restored, standing as a monument to an unyielding faith. Further north, the geological nesting reaching its peak at the famous Tal volcano, which features one of the most unique nested natural designs on Earth, a volcanic crater lake, containing an active volcano island, which sits inside a massive prehistoric caldera lake, which sits on the main island of Luzon. The peaceful stillness of the outer blue water completely masking the explosive, magma-fueled power brewing directly beneath the central crater serves as a flawless geographic metaphor for the character of the people who live around it. They maintain an unparalleled psychological calm in the face of constant environmental danger, living directly on the volatile Pacific Ring of Fire, where they experience over 20 earthquakes a day and dozens of severe floods a year. Locals have adapted so thoroughly that urban children use makeshift wooden rafts to swim through flooded streets. Adults push market carts through waist-deep waters, and neighbors casually fish for dinner right from their submerged living room windows. Finally, the eternal smile forged through unyielding catastrophe. As our journey comes to a close, we look beyond the superficial labels of a chaotic or sinful nation to discover the profound beauty of human endurance. Every seemingly bizarre or shocking survival strategy, from the gambling tables beside open coffins to the communities thriving inside historic mausoleums, is a brilliant testament to human resourcefulness in the face of intense economic and geographic pressure. Their core societal values are forged through absolute fire anchored by Bayanihan, the unyielding spirit of unconditional community unity that drives neighbors to carry an entire house on their shoulders to save a family from a storm when official state aid is delayed. This is perfectly balanced by Pakiki-sama, the art of gentle compromise that keeps peace inside crowded slums, and Hiya, which ensures that personal dignity is respected even in the depths of poverty. This unique mix of matriarchal strength, English fluency, and genuine warmth makes the archipelago one of the most welcoming worlds for any global traveler. The country is not defined by its hardships, but by its beautiful capacity to smile, sing, and love directly alongside its open tombs, plastic slums, and rising floodwaters. The information is for reference only, so please do your own research before making any